NPP only cycle. That's the same thing as nandrolone only cycle or a DECA only cycle, only it's with NPP. So I did my nandrolone video, and in the video I make it clear, I'm like, the study that I'm quoting is 600 milligrams of nandrolone a week and no testosterone, and the patients had no side effects. And clearly people with learning disabilities were asking, what do you think of nandrolone only cycles? It's like, what the fuck did I just say? So obviously that's not good enough for them. They don't want empirical data, they want anecdotal data. Why have class 1 evidence when you can have class 3 evidence? So what I did is I went off my gear, as you know, and I've been natty for like 5 weeks, let's say, got some blood work done, and after 9 years continuously on gear and then going off, I'm the exact same. Cholesterol was a 39 for HDL, normal's 40. My blood pressure didn't get any worse or better. My blood glucose got worse. That being off gear makes me pre-diabetic. And my creatinine says I've got moderate kidney disease, but that's just because I'm carrying enough muscle mass and I was training so hard. My AST and ALT, instead of like 25 and 26, were 115. That's how hard I train, that I'm breaking down that much muscle tissue. That also my creatinine's up. My BUN was only a 28 instead of a 20. So the truth is I was really breaking down a lot of tissue. So this is what I'm doing, is I'm going back on gear. So I started noticing after about 4 weeks that I had no sex drive at all. So I went on Proviron and went about 50 milligrams a day of Proviron and 3 milligrams, not 25, which is normal prescription amount, 3 milligrams every other day of Cialis. So chest, shoulders, arm days, not back, not legs, because I don't want the lower back pump. And that fixed the problem in spades. That porn star performance, pretty much, without getting too graphic, with no test. And on my blood work, even though I'm using just Thor's hammer, I want to point out that the reason I went on gear in the first place is I had naturally low testosterone. I was one of those few people that at 8 years old, 16 years old, 23 years old, when I had my testosterone tested, it was really low. It's just they didn't treat it until I was 28. So I started on gear because of low testosterone. My body doesn't normally make testosterone. But with the help of Thor's hammer, I was able to have normal levels of free testosterone. So the normal levels of free testosterone, low levels of SHBG, low levels of estrogen, plus Proviron and the Cialis, I didn't really need to take gear, and I probably never would have to take gear for the rest of my life. But I've got a competition coming up, so I started 200 milligrams of NPP every other day. Basically, 600 milligrams of nandrolone a week, just like the study they did on the HIV patients, only instead of it being 600 a DECA, it's 600 of NPP. And the reason for this is if you watch the starting and stopping video, episode 11, I explain that when you start a cycle, short-acting esters for a week, then you would use short-acting and long esters. So next week I'm going to go 100 NPP, 150 DECA every other day. And then week 3 I'll go to like 250 DECA every third day, and then week 4 I'll go 250 DECA every fourth day. Because it takes weeks for the DECA to kick in because it's a long-acting drug. So it takes a long time for onset. So I'm using short-acting. But the point I'm trying to get to is I didn't see a huge change when I went on the Proviron. I was basically like, I noticed that my total strength from my first work set wasn't really diminished off gear, but I didn't have much muscular endurance. As I went through the workout, I ran out of steam really quick. Basically, the poor blood sugar implies poor insulin sensitivity, which implies the muscles aren't absorbing and storing as much glycogen, which is indicated with my low muscular endurance for reps in the white fiber 8 to 10 to 12 range. So when you're lifting for muscle growth or strength, you're running out of steam quickly without the gear. Once I went on Proviron, it did not help. Once I went on Nandrolone, the next day's workout, not that day's workout, but the next day's workout, actually I broke a PR on leg press. Vertical leg press, I got 600 for 11, which is like 1200 on a 45-degree angle leg press. And that was after squatting to failure. So then the next day's workout was arms. I didn't get heavy weights. I was doing poorly in the weight range, but I was getting really good mind-muscle connection, really good pumps, and I was really sore the next day. Shoulders, same thing. I wasn't handling the typical Todd Lee shoulder weights, but I was feeling it better, getting better pumps, and I was sore the next day. I never get sore in shoulders, but I was actually sore. And then yesterday I did a phenomenal back routine, but I threw an Anadrol pre-workout too. So I'm taking Proviron and Anadrol pre-workout with the NPP. Because people are like saying, what do you think of Camel Crew's approach? And Camel Crew's approach, from what I understand, is they use Anadrol pre-contest, pre-lift with carbs, and they use Nandrolone only cycles in relatively high doses. To me, if the study on HIV patients was 600 Nandrolone a week, that's what I'm going to use and see. So typically I would do like 600 to 700 tests and 300 DECA and have a left nipple puffiness and a small mass under it. D-ball really aggravates that. So if I go DECA D-ball or test DECA D-ball, I get really bad gyno that flares up, and I have to run AIs all the time. Right now I'm on no AIs except for the what's in Thor's hammer, and I'm on no test except for the Todd Lee test booster. I'm using the Proviron, I'm using the Nandrolone, getting great results, throw in the Anadrol, didn't see any emotional change, didn't see any aggression, but I lifted as good as I normally would for my bent rows. I got 315 for 9 plus 2. And I only say it's plus 2 because it didn't touch the belt. Anybody else would have counted those reps. So it's basically 315 for 11 on the bent row. But then when I did the drop set, rather than getting 6 and 6, I got 10 and 10. And the rest of my back workout was great. And I got back up to my old PRs and some of my arm exercises. And I did like 5 arm exercises rather than 2 or 3 arm exercises and didn't run out of steam. I had to pull myself away from the weights. So did the Anadrol help? I don't know if it even is real Anadrol, and I don't know if it's real NPP, but I noticed that my NPP gave me my endurance, mind muscle connection, pump, and post-workout soreness back. Probably because the total volume, the sets times the reps times the weight is higher because I have more muscular endurance. That's why I'm sore. I'm able to get more reps for a longer period of time. That's why I'm able to get a pump, and that because of the pump, I've got better mind muscle connection. I noticed the Anadrol gave me a little bit more vascularity. So today I'm repeating the procedure with chest. So I want to point out that just like I said in the Nandrolone video, that 600 milligrams a week, all good, no bad, that's what I'm experiencing right now. And then the same thing is the DECA shit doesn't happen. I mean, I haven't used Cialis just to determine if it would be an issue, and it isn't. So the point is just the Proviron 50 a day, Nandrolone 200 every other day, specifically NPP, and 50 Anadrol pre-lift is all I'm really needing right now. I will still use the Cialis for the pump. That's what I use it for, is on pump-focused days, white fiber days, like chest, shoulders, triceps. I'm going to use the pump. I'm going to use Cialis, and I'm talking 1/10 of a normal dose every other day. And I'm pretty sure this will be good for a while. And the next video will probably cover my entire pre-contest cycle, because it's a little bit more complicated than I'm making it sound. But from the standpoint to answer people's questions about a DECA-only cycle, it's been a week and an Nandrolone-only cycle after being off gear completely and having pretty severe shutdown from going a performance enhancing cycle after 9 years of being on to going off completely and using nothing but Thor's hammer, you know, and already having low testosterone my whole life, to have better functionality right now using 600 milligrams of Nandrolone with nothing but Thor's hammer and Proviron, that's pretty impressive. And a lot of people whine because they want to use tests because they're cowards. They don't want to just use science and reason. And it's like, I don't care what you say. This is a response to the video, the questions. People said, what do you think of an Nandrolone-only cycle? Is that it made sense on paper? Now I tested it, and at least as a week goes, I proved it works. I still have no sex drive at all, though. I want to clarify that I'm functional. I can do it if I have to, but it doesn't appeal to me in the slightest. So, insofar as that goes, if you have a girlfriend who wants you to chase her around the house, that's when you have to add in some testosterone. And usually at 400 milligrams of testosterone with this much Nandrolone, I have sex drive that's unnecessary. So the normal TRT dose of 250 should probably be plenty if that's something you want to have. If you want to give yourself an addiction, go ahead. But if to think about it, think if you were an alcoholic your whole life and then you don't even crave alcohol anymore, and how much more time you'd have on your hands and how much more efficient you'd be. That's what it's like to go on a Nandrolone-only cycle. Is get all the good, none of the bad, even get rid of the addiction you have to pussy. Anyway, have a great one.